I am doing well. I'm doing well.
Great. Well, thanks for putting in the application. Just want to kind of learn more about you and see, see where we go from there. So, I think I would start off with the easy one. Just so why'd you apply and why are you interested in network management?
Yeah, so first off, I've always wanted to be part of a school district. I did that for a bit before, and I really do enjoy it. A little bit of time in MSP, World with Impact. Just want to move more towards a goal focus besides just making money. I want to be able to help out teachers and students, with any of their needs. Just really want to be able to get back in the education environment to be able to help towards a goal, honestly. And I enjoy kids. I've been coaching football for the past 8 years, so I've always enjoyed time with I guess youth slash high schoolers.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're a K through 8 district, just so you know. Yeah, we got the 7 buildings, so a lot of routing, switching, access points. You know, small server infrastructure, all the things that make it work, right? So,
Yeah.
all right. All right, so let me kind of throw some random kind of tech questions here at you and see how it goes. So, what like brand of switch would you say you're most comfortable configuring?
I've only done really Cisco
Okay.
would be my biggest experience there.
All right. And then same on have you had much experience managing, maintaining firewalls? And if so, what brand would you say you're the best with?
Yeah, so we're at Impact. We're all Cisco based. So
Oh, okay. So Cisco
that
firewalls. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Can you walk me through like the first 4 layers of the OSI model and why you may use that to help troubleshoot problems?
Um, I believe the first one, presentation, data. Um, I forget what the third and fourth one. Network. I forget the fourth, but the data link would be for more like for packets. Then the network would be, I believe, for more routing. Since their the presentation will be more on the front end, I believe. Please do not. Um, fourth, I that escapes me currently.
Okay.
The fourth layer. Let's
Yes.
forget. I will remember it after here, but I do
Yeah,
not.
no, well, yeah, and that's that's fine. I'm going to be we're asking lots of random questions just to kind of get a feel for what's going on. So let's say what common program would you use to like analyze network traffic if you had to? Yeah.
Yeah, so we mainly use Wireshark anytime we have anything like that.
Hmm.
To see if any like incoming packets or loss,
Yeah.
and so that's the only thing I've ever really used in that sense there.
Yeah. No, that's the same with me. Wireshark is the kind of bread and butter for most of that. So, um, okay. So a couple random port questions here. So, what services typically run on port 22?
Uh 21, that's 21 and 22, that's SSH and Telnet. Mm, for the ports that
Yeah, so I'm looking for this. Yeah, port 22, and then the next question on ports is port 3389.
I know 3389, that's gonna be RDP,
Hmm.
um, Telnet, um, services. I'm not.
No, I mean it's yeah, it's SHH and RDP. Yeah, Telnet is technically 23, but nobody should be using that. So, um, okay. So, next question. So, what would you use, and have you used it before, really? Uh, SNMP, are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah, I've never really used it. I'm familiar with the term. I haven't had an experience actually like deploy any tools around it
Okay.
um, with with that.
Okay. All right. In the world of wireless, if I have a in the 2.4 gigahertz wireless space,
Mhm.
what three channels should I be using
Yeah, that's
configured
1,
with
6, and 11
one,
to
six,
make
and
sure
11?
so you make
All
sure you
right.
have your correct ranges there.
All right. What network monitoring like tools or services are you most comfortable in using?
Um, we're on Cisco Meraki.
Yeah,
That's our biggest thing we've used for monitoring networks. Um, I would not have any experience with anything else, but
gotcha. Okay.
definitely able to
So
learn.
like, and maybe, and part of this is me kind of coming up with good questions too. So, um, how do you get alerted? What program do you get? Maybe it's Meraki's. I'm not familiar with Meraki, but let's say you got, I don't know, like an important like copy machine or even like a switch, like the upstairs switch or something that goes down. You probably get alerted somehow to that, right? So what programs, or does this Meraki just shoot you an email like, hey, switch number 4 down or something?
Yeah, everything for Meraki, they'll output us anytime like the MX would go down, certain ports having a like a latency issue,
Gotcha.
high packet loss. It's pretty extensive in that sense there.
Gotcha. Yeah, so like we use like different tools to like, I mean, same thing to let us to alert us like if a switch goes down, but like one of our servers goes down, right? Like we get alerted like, hey, file server 2 is down or domain controller 2 is down, that kind of thing. But okay, that's cool. And Meraki does some of that for you. So okay.
Mhm.
Um, so what are some reasons that you would implement like VLANs at an organization or a school or whatever?
Yeah, so that's gonna be to segment out the network trafficking between different departments. So like HR, let's say C level, and let's say the IT team there, just to ensure the segmentation
Hmm.
of traffic, and then for um, just I forget it, but for like trunking as well. At least for Meraki, that's what we use the VLANs for. Then it helps us be able to also uh, have network segmented to analyze issues between different ports and depending on the way we set it up there. But that's kind of the sense that we've kind of used it for.
Yeah. All right. So can you pretend I don't know the answer to this? Can you explain DNS to me and why it's important?
Yeah, DNS is going to be kind of like Yellow Pages. They'll display all information there for websites there on like as a public end there, and internal DNS will um, that determines a lot of like your I suppose like your like gateways and um any time that would be I suppose not correct, it will not communicate correctly with the internal um, IPs there. And I've seen those issues on an individual side, but publicly it's just going to be kind of yellow pages there, display information out there to users to be able to connect uh, in that sense.
Okay. So what is a group policy object and what would you use one for in theory?
Yeah, so for a group policy, that would be like for a security group. And let's say there's like a what would you call it? So let's say security group and an email, like a SharePoint site. So when I've ever used it
Hmm.
is to segment out certain resources um within like the 80 Active Directory.
Hmm.
Just helps you do groups of OU groups and just be able to segment out 80 in a proper way with GPO or carry out processes that you would like for a certain group. So let's say no USB access for for teachers, but IT will get USB access to be able to do et cetera, et cetera. So that's how we've used it before in the past.
Okay. Yeah. Can you tell me about, your server virtualization experience and kind of what that environment's like?
Um, Really, the only ones I have experience with were mainly what like E E VMware, the ESXi. That's what we mainly use for that. Only experience with it would be data recovery, like disaster recovery. We have certain services run on it for our
Hmm.
clients for cloud backups.
Hmm.
That's pretty much the only experience I have with it in that sense.
Okay. All right. So let's say you just installed a new device. Maybe it's a new server or just random network device, I guess. What tool would you use to see like all the ports that are actively listening on that new server or device?
What software?
Yeah. Like what kind of software would you use to like kind of to see all the ports running or listening on that new box you just set up or new printer you just installed or whatever?
I guess for a device, um, I don't know if I
Yeah.
believe
Sorry.
Wireshark has that capability. Printer, I've never done anything.
Like like are you familiar with like port scanning?
Yeah, I've just used. I guess I've never used a specific um software for it.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of um. I can't think of a software name, but yes, I'm familiar with with the term of it.
Gotcha.
We don't have any we don't have any software that we use for a port scanner.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Kind of switching gears here. So, what are some basic like security measures that any organization like should or could implement that are seemingly like low cost, or and not like a $50,000 super firewall, just to help do what you can for a low budget, between users and settings and everything else. Like, what are some things that you'd be presumably pitching to make the place more secure that don't break the bank?
Yeah, so I would just look for um I guess any like firewall filtering. I would look for that, like if that's already part of it. Web filtering policies, I suppose, would be
Hmm.
a good thing. Um, Making sure students aren't going on certain websites that aren't supposed to.
Yeah.
Um, what else for free? For free.
Free, yeah,
Um,
free or low cost. Like like the easy answer is buy,
and like a
super,
phishing
yeah.
a proof point. We use that. That's a big thing. I'd use proof point for phishing
Okay.
attempts to educate people in that sense.
Okay. So fish training essentially. Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
and
Yeah.
then I guess for um yeah, I guess that would be kind of the things I could think of.
Okay. All right. So going back to kind of scenario, you just set up like a maybe a new IP camera, a printer, or even a UPS. It's connected to the network, right? You need it to be connected to the network. So, what are some basic steps that you should take after you install any kind of new device from like a security perspective?
From a security perspective, I would sell a new IP. First, if I want to make sure if that's being outputted to anyone, or can like just use like a wireless type of scanner. If I know that is able to be done. After that, I would look for is it to have the correct IP because sometimes you have loop back, so I'd look through
Hmm.
DNS to make sure it has the correct segmentation there, depending on uh I guess the device, we'd want to make sure the IP range is correct as well.
Yeah.
After that, um, what else? After that, I guess if there's a new device, if there's like public facing, I'd change the default password. That's a
Okay.
possibility there to web in
Mhm.
that way. Because we've had clients do that. I make sure if it's broadcasting a ID, I'd make sure that it would be private, or restricted some way for certain people is how I would uh go about it.
Yeah, no, yeah. Okay. No, that's good. Okay. All right. So I'm going to assume if I were to ask you the major difference between a website that's HTTP versus HTTPS, the the 100-foot answer or whatever is going to say it's encrypted, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we know it's encrypted. Do you want to kind of talk more details about just how it is encrypted?
Um. I believe it's gonna be T. How that's not gonna. Only that's coming to me is like maybe the way the traffic's routed there with TCL. Um, that's one thing that's coming to mind. I guess I never really looked into what makes it secure or not.
Yeah, or how is it secured
Oh,
essentially? Mm. I mean, we know the answer is encryption, but like, so how is it
the
is it get encrypted, you know?
SSL. I believe you have to have a certification through that. Um, that's the only thing I can think of that's wrong. I apologize.
Yeah, that's all right. All right, so switching gears here. So how do you like document troubleshooting steps and fixes or resolutions for that in future reference, right? Because you fix something on Tuesday, then 2 weeks later you run into another problem or a similar problem. So how do you go look that up without reinventing the wheel all the time, right?
Yeah, so for everything I've used for that has been IT Glue.
Okay.
That's just a note repository
Hmm.
system.
Yeah.
After that, I've used a OneNote is pretty extensive as
Hmm.
well. So example, you do like your hardware tab, network tab, security tab,
Yeah.
et cetera, DNS layering. So
So you guys
um,
use IT glue over there, or you have?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's our main uh, our main thing there.
Yeah. So you write up something and conceivably one of your partners would they be able to follow your steps to solve a problem? Or are they going to be calling you anyways or
Yeah, no, they be able to solve it. For that, that's kind of excuse me, that's more kind of the role I've taken over as I've moved up in impact. There is more documentation writing,
Mhm.
and just in assisting colleagues with any issues. Like we had a VPN issue today. With Nick, user was getting the wrong password credentials, so cleared the VPN out. Had to connect with our domain cred, so we're on the VPN, so we had domain connection. Did the control alt delete, reset the password, entered a new one, got on the VPN, we're all good to go. That's what Nick's just steps on it, how to do it, just basic steps like, ensure a person's out in the office, because we don't want to spend 20, 30 minutes on not needing
Mhm.
the VPN. People have done that.
Yeah.
And just document the basic lines out for that over my years at Impact. So yeah, I'd say that's one of my better traits I have with especially with coaching and writing out game plans and just everything is process based in football world, and I use it in IT as well. So yes, I'd like to think people will be able to follow my notes or with minimal difficulty.
Gotcha. So what uh what experience or tools have you used or do you have with detecting and then ultimately resolving vulnerabilities?
For vulnerability scans, that's all done by our cybersecurity sister company.
Okay.
We don't have any tools on our end for that. I've assisted in when vulnerabilities are discovered with
Yeah.
like credentials, just following like a process we have in place to resolve that. But in my role, I don't have any vulnerability scans experience in that sense. Only
Gotcha.
mitigating it after the fact.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, so you know, how do you how would you plan on managing? You know, we have to patch, you know, a firewall or a switch or a server, whatever, but it's going to require downtime. So it's kind of a hard sell to do it at 10 in the morning on a Monday, right? So
Hmm.
how do you kind of manage that, and what would be kind of like your game plan or expectation of doing these kind of outage inducing, you know, firmware updates?
Yeah, so I first off give everyone a heads up. So set the timeline,
Mhm.
right? Just either a week in advance, 3 days in advance, and send a
Mhm.
follow up. So if you send it a week in advance, probably send a week, 3 days out, then like the day before, so everyone's aware. After that, set the time that has the minimal effect across all users. And if you can, have it not affect anyone, but definitely would
Mhm.
try to use a time uh depending on the process, I think would be a long, but maybe during lunch or maybe during recess for the kids, or maybe during maybe even after hours, or see if we could use a automation or scripting to get that done as well after hours would be my approach there, and then just working with um any leadership there to try to just get an idea of what would be the most minimal downtime for all affected users.
Gotcha. All right. Can you talk to me about a time where you just had to learn a new technology pretty quickly?
Yeah, so I guess a newer technology right now I'm going through is just pretty much any scripting, automation scripting.
Okay.
That's been a newer thing for me. That's all via Intune. So just going through a class currently led by a couple engineers at Impact to try to get skills around that with patching on Intune. So that's been a pretty good process as well for that. So that's been a new skill I've had to learn that's come across my plate. So yeah.
Okay. Um, no, okay. So scripting and Intune. All right. So what would you say you're better at now than you were a year ago in terms of networking or server administration?
Yeah, in terms of honestly be GPO and just like understanding how it honestly works. That's been a big thing. Especially with taking over the Heitman account. That's one of our bigger clients. Just um yeah, I guess really understanding how OUs work and operate, and there's certain processes that you don't want to do with accounts that can just break it there with if they're in a read only or a read and write that will cause access issue. I've seen that. I've seen exchange issues as well with with GPOs or OUs as for users. So that's been the biggest skill because that was not a thing uh, really at all when I first started Impact. So just understanding how honestly Active Directory really works
Mhm.
as a whole.
Gotcha. So how do you approach a problem that you have like no clear solution for?
Yeah, if it's with the user, just try to set expectations. Don't oversell, but set expectations. So that'd be the first thing. Is let them know they're heard and understand, and from there, definitely go through any documentation that I have to see if I have an
Hmm.
idea of if I've solved it before in the past.
Yeah.
If not, honestly, forums have been really good. Forums from Microsoft Learn has been really helpful in my career so far. Um, and After that is just being clear with timelines and being clear and owning up if not gonna be able to be met initially. As like I said, if it's, oh, I think it'll be an hour. If it's a kid in 45 minutes, hey, it's not gonna be an hour. We think it'll be an hour and a half, 2 hours based off of this.
Mhm.
So that's how I to go about the discovery process and the influence, going about it. I guess ensuring that it gets done there. Would just try to, someone's frustrated or it's a dire thing, just I guess just do my best to work quickly with the end user, get the service done as quick as possible with my process.
Mhm. All right. Can you tell me a time where you've provided like tier two or tier three support to someone, at impact, like a fellow technician? And then what was the outcome of that? And did you teach the technician who kind of escalated the problem to you anything about the problem and the solution?
Um, yeah, we had an MFA rollout for a client.
Mhm.
So I had to make documentation on how to get that done. So it was just like Duo. Duo's a little bit different than Microsoft Authenticator, so it's a little bit more difficult. So just made documentation for that. What was a bigger set of clients, 20 to 30, so nothing too big, just made
Mhm.
documentation on it, how to get it done, and steps around if it's not working, right? Oh, send a prompt to send the code. Oh, if it doesn't, let's revoke access, and then let's go make sure we're in the correct groups. That's the biggest thing with Duo. You gotta make sure in the correct groups. Are they in the VPN group? Are they part of 80 user group, et
Mhm.
cetera, et cetera? So that would be an example of, I guess, tier two, tier three of more of a important thing to have for clients to make sure they're secured with MFA across their accounts. And the technician learned on how to do Duo, and it's still used by people at the company now. So good enough, I suppose.
Okay. Um, all right. All right. So that's kind of the end of my questions. I'll give you the quick 2 minute spiel here and kind of the process. And then obviously if you've got questions for me. So, as you know, I, got, you're interviewing, this week and into next week. And we'll see kind of next steps and see how everything falls. And then, but I will be reaching out to you with either like, hey, we want to bring you back for like a round two, or possibly a job offer, or hey, sorry, we're going with another candidate. I'm not gonna like leave you hanging, so I'm gonna get back to you one way or another. Um, the job is on site. It's at Manuka. We've got 7 buildings. 4,400 kids. So there's a lot of stuff that a lot of routing and firewall and filtering and all that stuff. The job is mostly kind of server network administration, right? And then, but you also do like kind of tier three tech support when other technicians, can't solve Mrs. Smith's laptop problems or whatever, that kind of thing. We have a mixture of devices. Staff basically use Windows laptops. Most of the kids use Chromebooks, and then the little kids have iPads. So there's kind of a mixture, but the bread and butter is staff Windows laptops, and then kid Chromebooks. So we do a lot of Google administration stuff, but um, but yeah. All right, so that's kind of like the spiel, if you will. What questions do you have for me?
I'm written down here. One sec. Um, I guess what's the biggest need require this position like the first 6 months? Like, what are you looking to achieve um for this position to
Yeah,
try to
so
take?
the plan is to buy new firewalls and set them up at our like elementary buildings and stuff to kind of have rules at each building. We have firewalls at our internet, egress points, but we don't really have like true ACLs and firewalls at one of our elementary buildings. So the idea is to install most likely a FortiGate firewall. That's what we currently have at like the real end. But install firewalls there so then we can prevent what we kind of call east to west traffic,
Hmm.
and segment that down or block various things like that. So that's one of our like summer projects that is likely a go. And So that, yeah, so I guess that's a kind of a major one. Our access points and switches are, we're pretty good with what we have right now. So that's got a couple more years runtime. So we're actually on the switching and access point side, we're actually Juniper,
Okay,
um,
yeah.
or Mist technically, but yeah. Um, so just obviously there'd be a learning curve there. But I came myself from a Cisco world, so I started learning Juniper commands and stuff. I mean, it's you know there's some stuff that overlays, and then there's some random stuff that's like Cisco does it totally different. But you kind of, as you get better with it, you figure it out. Um, but okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess how is the IT department currently structured? Is it a big team, 10 people, 5 people,
Yeah,
3 people?
we got team of uh team of 11. So we've got 6 building technicians that are like kind of tier 1 help desk, and then a tier 2 technician, um, who travels around a lot and provides tier 2 support a lot. Myself, the network manager position, and then we have 2 people that do a ton of work on like the data side with the grade book management stuff and all that. So, and accounts, and whenever we buy a new Math Blaster 3000, well, we have to get and sync over 4,000 student accounts. So that's a job, and all that kind of
Yep.
stuff, right? So that's how we kind of structure it out. So, yep.
Okay. And my last question is, what's the what's the biggest area of improvement you're looking for overall for the IT, I guess, team and IT across the entire district?
Uh, IT across the district, I guess getting back to just we need to collectively we need to get a little bit better at being better at some of these like applications that teachers use, so that when they have trouble, like we can actually respond somewhat quickly. So we've been working on building documentation for teachers and how to use, Wit and Wisdom is like our ELA program or whatever. And it's like getting a little bit, making that connection in of, we don't need to be an expert obviously in the math software, but just to know enough of how to run reports and how to create assignment, just to be a nice helpful aid, for day-to-day stuff would be a win for the department, I think. Because ultimately we're here for teaching and learning, right? So like in the summer, like we all work year round, um, and but when you look at the summer mode, it's like almost a different job. And we're here for teaching and learning. When you take the teachers and kids are out, you kind of don't need a tech department, to be brutally honest, right?
Yeah.
And you could say you don't need a lot of other people in the school district either, so anyways, we just to kind of refocus on, we're here to do the best we can supporting, yeah, of course, break fix and everything else, but can we take it a step further and get better at supporting actual like computer instruction, and just like, here's how you do this, here's how you do this. So we're working on it, we're getting better at it. So but like Wi-Fi, quite honestly, is become so important. When Wi-Fi or internet's not working, I mean, schools like shut down practically. I mean, they don't send kids home, but you make a case where you might as well, because all the
Exactly.
curriculums online, there's a lot of pressure to keep, like, Wi-Fi and internet is now becoming like electricity, where you just expect it to work, and then when it doesn't, you get all mad, right?
Yep.
And that's just kind of how it is now. So that we need this position, somebody looking ahead, looking at problems to get after it proactively, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all my questions. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, like I said, we got more interviews, and I'm going to get back to you one way or another, and we'll see how the chips fall, and we'll be in touch. All right.
Alrighty. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a nice day.
You as well. Bye bye.
Bye.